It is time to roar around the ring. We are coming off of WrestleMania week in Las Vegas in the aftermath of it. That dude Darrell, Daryl Teeler is here with me. I am Justin Valentine, and we have a lot to get to in a short amount of time. So let's jump right into it. And again, WrestleMania week, 2 nights yet again, two main events. We'll go in order of the weekend, and we'll start things off with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, which had the weird Pat McAfee angle thrown into it midway through of Randy Orton's heel turn. And that was kind of wiped away in one night, both with Jelly Roll taking Pat McAfee out before the match, Randy Orton turning on Pat McAfee. Cody Rhodes gets the win, which means Pat McAfee is done with WWE. Orton attacks Cody after the match. A lot going on here, Daryl, despite the Pat McAfee angle, which I don't think there was anybody that was a fan of this for this story. Were you able to enjoy the main event? And how did you see this all coming through at WrestleMania?
I mean, I was able to enjoy it off the merits that we're talking about Cody and Randy putting on a match. There was a little bit of wonkiness to it. I don't know how legit any Randy Orton injury was there or how to the extent of the injury, if there is one. But it kind of slowed the pace of the match, but it didn't affect it like terribly. And I think what I did enjoy about it too was that, like you said, they kind of took care of the Pat McAfee thing and the Jelly Roll thing all in one fell swoop, which was nice. And then we were just able to get on with what we wanted in the first place.
It felt like they were on their way to a weird tag match, Cody and Jelly Roll against Orton and McAfee, maybe at Backlash or something. That's not something that anyone wants to see. Pat McAfee, that angle made no sense. His story made no sense. He has no connection. And it wasn't that it just didn't make sense. It wasn't needed because Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes have 20 plus years of history. Randy Orton being a heel for the first time in forever and going back to '09 Orton is a story within itself. And that match was already great. And I give them a lot of credit despite the criticism and despite the potential Randy Orton injury. The match was great. It was weird. It was a slow pace, but I thought they put on a great match. I love the fact that this was I look at it as best case scenario, I guess, for what they had, because McAfee's gone because of that dumb stipulation that no one cared about. If Orton loses, he's gone. Yeah. But also heel Randy Orton kind of continues to look strong because of the attack afterwards. I mean, he wasn't on SmackDown, so we'll see what his injury status actually is. You would assume at some point we have a rematch. Do you want to see this story continue on with heel Randy Orton going after Cody? When do you want to see a rematch? And is that a rematch that Randy Orton potentially wins?
I think if there is a rematch, I would personally want, now, given how you'd want to book this out, because if there is a rematch, I would think Randy Orton wins, but the ultimate cap off to this feud has to be Cody getting his title back. Unless you're going to interject someone else from the roster to get that title from Randy, I would think it would just end up back with Cody. So do I want to run it back with them? Absolutely. I think here's how I would kind of do it. I would wait until the summer. I would actually have Cody go into a different program where you almost forget about Randy Orton. They play up the injury, not Seth Rollins style, where it's like, oh, he's really, but I mean, like, he's legit injured and he's just off TV.
Yeah.
Cody gets into another feud. In the midst of the match, at whatever PLE it would be, Randy comes out the end and just RKO out of nowhere. And now we're back to where it's like, hey, you think I forgot? You thought you were safe? Here we are. And we're kicking right back into it.
And it feels like that might be the route, because I thought it was very strange, not only that Randy Orton was not on SmackDown, but you had an entire Cody Rhodes promo and there was no development with anybody. He was not interrupted by anybody. He had no match. He had no altercation. He had the CM Punk thing on Raw, which we'll talk about when we get to Punk and Reigns. But on SmackDown specifically, there was no, Backlash is only a couple weeks away, by the way. So there was no, okay, here's his next opponent. Here's his next story. There was none of that. So you wonder if it's because they're waiting out Randy Orton or they don't know what it should be. Again, it seemed as if they wanted Jelly Roll and McAfee to be a part of this for a minute, and then they got away from it at WrestleMania weekend. So maybe whatever plans they had post WrestleMania, they're trying to scramble. Whenever there is a rematch, it's a rematch that Randy Orton should win. Randy Orton did straight up lose at WrestleMania. Yes, it was with McAfee, but we did turn Orton heel. It's the same. It's very similar to the John Cena story last year. And as much as it was weird with his heel turn, you weren't going to turn John Cena heel and not have him become champion at some point. Randy Orton is the same thing. Does the title end up back on Cody Rhodes at some point? Probably. He's your guy. You know, he's the new Roman Reigns from a few years ago and John Cena from a decade ago. He's the guy that they want holding the title for the big WrestleMania main events year after year. So he'll probably be in the world title match at WrestleMania next year. But if you get the title on Randy Orton by SummerSlam at the latest, you could still have a good 6-month run with Randy Orton. Is there anyone else, though, on SmackDown in the meantime that you'd like to see Cody Rhodes and not necessarily drop the title to, but at least put his title up against?
I mean, I kind of feel like they're in this weird, given the recent releases too, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're in this weird, like, flux movement of like, they're trying to do something with the rosters, not necessarily Raw, but mostly with SmackDown.
Right.
So I don't know. And this does kind of tie into the CM Punk thing. I don't know if CM Punk is going to be on SmackDown at some point. That could be potentially be your, I guess, for lack of a better term, your placeholder feud. Because if you put Punk on SmackDown, Punk could just kind of easily go off to somebody else. I mean, he doesn't have to win the title. He was just the world champion. Right. So he doesn't have to win the title again. That could be your avenue to get Orton back in the mix with Cody, and Punk can go off with somebody else.
I had bigger thoughts with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes and their altercation, or I should say their conversation on Raw. For SmackDown and Cody Rhodes, whenever we get to Randy Orton, we'll get to it. I think there's a Sami Zayn story to be told now that Sami Zayn is officially heel. Yeah. It seems as if Sami Zayn's going to have one more match with Trick Williams, which is fine. That's not a match he'll win. Sami Zayn's going to continue to lose. He's not going to get the U.S. title back from Trick Williams. He's not going to get the title from Cody Rhodes, but at the very least, that's a match that we should see, and I wouldn't mind seeing before we get back to Cody and Orton, and then whatever Cody and Punk ends up being at some point. Let's jump to Raw real quick, and we'll talk about Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and we'll get back to Punk and Cody within this conversation. But let's start on the Roman Reigns side. Roman Reigns becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, defeating CM Punk. How surprised were you that Punk dropped the title here?
I was actually really surprised because I know you and I had discussions prior to WrestleMania to that match. And I think we both kind of mutually agree, at least I had said, I don't see why you'd put it on Roman at this point in time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was going off the pretext that Roman's going to continue the part-time schedule. Why would you take it from Punk, who's there every week, to put it on a guy you're probably not going to see for another 2 months? So, yeah, I was shocked. But now, given what Roman said, you know, after the press conference after Mania, okay, let's kind of see where we're going with this here.
Yeah, you know, Roman Reigns was on the Raw after WrestleMania. He's going to be on Raw tonight. He's going to be at Backlash. They got him on the poster, so clearly he's sticking around. Yeah. I didn't think Punk would drop the title here, mainly because I didn't think we would see much of Roman Reigns in 2026. I did not see much for Roman Reigns to do. Matches that we haven't seen and so on. The second that Roman Reigns won this match, and we'll talk about who his Backlash match is about to be, but the second Roman Reigns won this match, I went straight to, Obafemi. Roman Reigns won this for Obafemi. Because Obafemi, looking as dominant as he did leading up to WrestleMania and at WrestleMania, his moment will come this year. He is going to get pushed that quickly. He's someone else that on Raw had a quick promo and no development of what's next shown. Yeah. He's going to have to beat Brock Lesnar. We'll talk about that match as well. He's going to have a big moment this year, and he is the most popular guy on the roster. Cody Rhodes is still your face of the company. I don't know if they want him, dethroning Cody Rhodes right now because they're stuck on him being the face of the company. CM Punk is way too popular for Obafemi to then dethrone CM Punk and dominate him. What a better way to finish SummerSlam than after Roman Reigns holds his title for a few months, Oba and Roman headline one of the nights of SummerSlam, and that weekend, probably Sunday, that weekend ends with Obafemi doing to Roman Reigns what he did to Brock Lesnar and becoming world champion. The second Roman won this, I was surprised, but Obafemi was the first one that came to my head.
I mean, he's kind of the only one.
Yeah.
If you look, because we're realistically, a lot of the people that Roman Reigns beat in his first reign as champion are still around, a lot of them. So it's not, what do? You know what I mean? Do you run it back and he beats them all again? I mean, It's just, and so I think your take with Oba is, I would imagine that's probably what they're doing. And Roman too, for all the talk of CM Punk being an old guy, which he is, he's the old guy club. Roman's not a young dude either. So we have to see how many more years do you have Roman on the roster, being in main events, main eventing WrestleMania. I mean, you're looking at Roman right now. He's dipping his toe in the water for Hollywood too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's leading that way. I mean, you saw him, he's in the new Street Fighter film, all that. It's just kind of like, it's kind of leaning that direction where, okay, Roman's kind of timing out here. Oba's the perfect guy for Roman to drop that title too, if it comes to that.
Yeah. And I think, thinking long picture, I think Oba Femi and Gunther at next year's WrestleMania makes sense. And you also, with WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, as much as we want to roll our eyes at it, and rightfully so, Saudi Arabia loves to get the big names. Do they try to revisit Roman Reigns and The Rock one more time for WrestleMania in Saudi next year to get eyes on it? Because again, Saudi always wants those big names.
Yes.
Will Rock do it? Will Roman do it? Who knows? That makes the most sense. But for the quick turnaround, Roman Reigns was challenged by Jacob Fatu for WrestleMania. The Usos getting involved. This story was shown on SmackDown as well. It'll be officially confirmed probably tonight on Raw. Are you into this, or are you kind of looking at this as another overtold Bloodline story?
Kind of half and half. I like any platform they provide for Jacob Fatu to continue to rise up to the main event level and stay there and stick around the main event spot. Yeah. I am concerned though that we're getting a lot of what's already been done. Yeah. We've had tension, in whatever iteration you've seen Jacob Fatu with, facing down Roman or however it was. We've seen him against members, the Usos, Jimmy Uso specifically.
Yep.
And so it's like I feel like we're kind of treading back into, hey, it would be really comfortable for all of us. We would just go back into this Bloodline thing.
Right.
And it's like, or something Bloodline adjacent. And I get it because I lived through the NWO era and it was always like, let's just do the NWO thing. That seemed to work last time. It's like, it did, but let's not keep going back to that well. Because I don't want now, especially with the Usos with Roman, I'm afraid that we're going to kind of creep back to what we've seen what we saw for 3 years, 3.5 years.
Well, and you wonder with all the criticism that they got leading into WrestleMania, like you said, do they just, we were very successful when the Bloodline story was the top story, so let's just do that again.
Yeah.
Roman and I'm happy for Jacob Fatu. He beat Drew McIntyre, so this is, a big step for him. He's not going to win, but just to be in that spotlight, cool. The match is fine. We haven't seen it. I'm not mad at it. The Bloodline angle does feel overtold, specifically with the Usos so heavily involved. I don't need you involved.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't need this being a tribal chief thing, another family thing. Go talk to your cousins. Go do this. It's confusing.
Well,
right?
You know what?
Solo's involved as well.
I don't like them being involved because it just further reiterates the Jey Uso thing failed.
Yep.
And that's why he's back here.
Yeah.
And we never had anything for Jimmy.
And
that's why he's back here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you keep, every time they're right there flanking Roman and they're just standing behind him, it's like we're reiterating the fact that these failed singles pushes happened.
Yeah. Well, and then also it's at this point back and forth, which some would then argue, okay, well, that's how family works. You fight and then you make up, you fight. Yes, but I understand that, but it's still a story that you're trying to tell for your product. And even within SmackDown, it's confusing because the Usos are threatening Fatu and then we got your back. No, I don't want you to have my back. Can we stop? We've done this, right? Even on a smaller level with Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. Here we go again. Someone's threatening the leader of the group, and now it's I'm the tribal chief. I'm the family. Who beats Roman? You sound like Roman. Here we go again. It's the same thing over and over. So there is a legitimate argument that this Bloodline story, as talented as they all are, as big as successful as it's been, over it at this point. Yeah. So I'm good with the Jacob Fatu Roman Reigns match. I don't need Bloodline stuff involved. I get that that's all they're all in the family. I get it. But Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns as a match is good enough to sell me for Backlash. Jacob Fatu is not going to win this. We don't need to overtell the story. It's a good challenger for Roman. Cool. That's your story, right?
I agree.
It's only 2 weeks till Backlash, so it's not like you need to drag anything out.
That's crazy how quick it moves. I mean, you're still talking about WrestleMania Fallout, and it's like, by the way, in a couple of Saturdays, we got, it's like, okay.
Here we go again, right? So let's talk about the CM Punk Cody Rhodes thing real quick before we move on. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes kind of back and forth. Punk obviously dropping the title and then looking at Cody's title and very much hinted at maybe a match happens. Is this something you want to jump into soon? Is this something we wait for the Orton thing to wrap up? When does this match take place? Because it feels like we're getting closer to it.
I mean, it's either going to happen at like a Saudi event or it's going to happen on a Saturday night main event. I don't know. I would like to see it be featured on a big PLE. I don't think we're going to get that with this match.
That's insane to me. I think that's crazy.
I mean, look, we've seen where they've tried to make matches you would assume that would be on a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania or even a Survivor Series.
Right.
It's been Saturday night main event. It's been something where they're like, hey, we want to make this event seem big too. So they'll put your big marquee match that should be, Madison Square Garden or, whatever stadium they have out there. They put it in like an arena and it's like, okay, Saturday night main event, you're going to get the Gunther retirements, like those kind of deals.
Right.
I don't know. So I would be interested in seeing it because it's just, every time I see the two of them in the ring together, I remember the Royal Rumble, I believe it was 24, where Punk says, I didn't come back to lose to Dusty's kid. And I'm like, this match has to happen so you can lose to Dusty's kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I pray that you're wrong. Because if we're going to waste this match on anything but headlining one of the nights of next year's WrestleMania, that's insane to me. That's how this should go, right? You have a Cody Orton feud that you could tell for the rest of this year. Punk, there's a bunch of NXT call-ups, so there's a bunch of new, fresh names for Punk to kind of be involved with for the rest of this year. And then Punk wins the Rumble finally in 2027 because he has not done that. And then that's when you have your Punk Cody match. Maybe Cody finally turns heel. All these stories that we've been saying, finally, we are on the path. If they do it right and are patient to finally give that to us in 2027. This is not a Saturday night's main event. This is not any other PLE. I do not want to see these two one-on-one. And also everyone's petty in the wrestling industry. We know that. And these are two of the biggest names that AEW let go. So why would you not want this to be headlining one of your nights of WrestleMania over your world title? So if they waste this on anything else, I will lose my mind over what a waste it is because it's a huge deal.
No, you're right. And two of the biggest names that AEW fumbled, right? Put both of them on SmackDown. Put Punk on SmackDown. Let Punk and Cody be the pillars of SmackDown. Because then you'll have also Ricky Saints, right? Ethan Page, right? Dude, a Ricky Saints versus Punk feud and a Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page feud can carry you to that. Those two feuds alone can carry you to Survivor Series or the Rumble.
And those two could also support the Punk Cody feud next year because specifically Ricky Saints has a legitimate relationship with Cody Rhodes.
And now you got four AEW guys, former AEW guys. And they're they're the biggest marquee feuds on SmackDown or whatever it is, and it's wild to me. And not only that, we got Blake Monroe coming over.
Yep.
So it's like it's crazy, dude.
I love it. We're nothing but petty here on Raw Around the Ring.
All petty.
Let's make
the
it happen.
Pettiness we aspire to is right here.
Here we go. All right, let's get through some of the other things that took place around WrestleMania weekend. We mentioned Obafemi and dominating Brock Lesnar. We talked about him, but what about Brock retiring seemingly out of nowhere? Paul Heyman seems surprised, taking the boots off. Shout out to the socks that he wears, Hanes. We all wear them.
Just like us.
He's just like us.
He endorses the show. So he wears Hanes, so he endorses.
Of course, friend of the show.
Come on, Hanes.
So your reaction to how this played out and where Brock decided to call it?
You know what, man? I wonder, And there's a lot of little news and tidbits and rumors out there about that not being agreed upon with Triple H and all, but I don't know.
Hey.
I wonder if this is like legit it. Because I don't know. I think the Gunther thing is going to play into that.
Okay, so we'll segue into the Gunther thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to say real quick, it better be. And I don't care if Triple H knew. I thought this was the perfect time for Brock to do it. You put over the next big face of the company. Obafemi is just that. He will be the face of the company for decades to come. WrestleMania on ESPN, by the way, because it was the first hour was shown on ESPN. I mean, there's so many things about it. There's not much that Brock hasn't done. Gunther really is the only thing. I'm more than okay with this, but okay, so let's talk Gunther. Defeated Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker returned. That's cool. Not that big of a deal. We knew that match was coming. But with Gunther, he had this deal with Paul Heyman. I don't know how deep they're going to dive into this story of Paul Heyman, giving whatever this end of the deal is to Gunther. What do you think that end of the deal could be if they do make this a story for Gunther?
So I, like many other people, assume probably it has to do with Brock Lesnar at this point. So, but what if it doesn't? Because my thing is, if it does, and then Gunther's like, no, get your beast out of retirement. I want to face him. I want to retire him. I want him to prove whatever in Minnesota at SummerSlam. Okay. So what do? Does Gunther beat him? And then we're just like, okay, he got beat again. Bye, Brock. It's just like, or does Brock come back, beat him, and then it's like, all right, let's do the retirement thing again. It's like, well, okay. So at this point, I'm kind of with you. Like, just let this be it for Brock. Let it be it. He's done. And Gunther, they're going to have to pivot now. If the promise or the deal thing was about Brock, they better get creative fast and deal with something else.
And here's where I will then say I agree with Triple H being very mad, because that story makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. Gunther helped Paul. SummerSlam's in Minnesota. Of course, that's where Brock is from. I mean, Gunther has been known to be the one to retire people.
The retire guy, yep.
So on and so forth. But it makes absolutely no sense to have Brock come back, and whether he wins or loses, after the way he went out at WrestleMania. Like, he comes back to lose again, great. He comes back and wins and then has another emotional thing, great.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
That's what I'm saying. It's like you, if Brock went into business for himself, which Brock Lesnar has done, and he can do whatever he wants, really.
Yeah.
I can understand how Triple H or anyone backstage is probably like, dude, what the F? You know what I mean? Like, you're like annihilating our months of plans that we had here.
Right.
So I get that if that is true. Otherwise, because it doesn't make sense. Like we just said, it doesn't make sense to have him come back and lose or come back and do the emotional goodbye again.
Well, and also it's tough because when you say pivot in a deal with Paul Heyman, you would think, okay, world titles. But you got Roman Reigns in the story that we just mentioned with Oba that they'll probably go. And then you got Cody Rhodes with Randy Orton. So do you really want to disrupt either one of those stories because Brock Lesnar kind of screwed you over here? You need something for Gunther. So Brock deserved that moment. It was great. Absolutely. But he kind of screwed them over here.
Unless the thing is now they just do where it's like, I don't know. I'm spitballing here. Gunther wants Heyman to be his advocate now. Like, get me a world title shot. It's like, you don't really need him for that, but okay.
But I mean, if you do that, it would have to be dragged out to next year's WrestleMania, because you could see him, if Oba wins the world title and then you do Oba and Gunther at next year's WrestleMania, and Paul Heyman's the one that got Gunther that title shot, which, okay, we're connecting things here.
What about Braun Breaker now?
But here's the thing. Oba's the one that took Brock Lesnar out. So Paul Heyman advocating Gunther against Oba at next year's WrestleMania for a world title is a connection that they could go. You would just have to drag this out for a year.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I know you're not feeling it. You're not feeling it. All right, let's go to the women's side of things, because the 4 singles women's titles all changed hands throughout the week of WrestleMania, and that is Liv Morgan becoming world champion, Rhea Ripley women's champion, Becky Lynch is Intercontinental champion again, Tiffany Stratton's the United States champion. Which of those 4 are you most excited about?
I'm low-key Tiffany Stratton, because I think she has bigger name value, and that title needs attention.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the one that stands out immediately, because we've seen Becky, we've seen Liv, and so I think that's more. I'm focused more on that one to see where they're going to go with it.
Yeah. I think my favorite was probably Liv, just because, man, Liv Morgan's a superstar and I'm happy for her. You
Oh
know what
yeah,
I mean?
absolutely.
Like, just seeing her superstardom rise and to get a WrestleMania moment like that, I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of. Rhea made sense. I don't think anyone's ready for a Rhea EO breakup, but we're probably going to
Yeah.
get it at some point. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see.
We'll see.
But Becky and AJ is the one that I'm least excited about. That one makes zero sense to even happen. Like, I get, okay, AJ wasn't going to beat Becky for the thousandth time in a row. Correct. That's why that match shouldn't have happened, because AJ Lee being Intercontinental Champion is an easy route to get us all the dream matches that we have not seen since AJ Lee has been back. So this match should have been just something else completely different, and AJ Lee should have still been IC champion coming out of WrestleMania. So that's my least favorite, but I don't disagree with you with Tiffany Stratton and being a US champion. Stay in the women's division. The return of Paige at WrestleMania, teaming with Brie Bella, replacing the injured Nikki Bella, and now women's tag team champions. How did you like this return for Paige?
It was surprising, man. I didn't expect it, and that's one of the beauties of not being on social media.
Yep.
Is it's nice to be surprised with wrestling again. So I had no idea. I didn't expect it. I didn't read any pre-whatever about it. I liked it. I thought it was a really nice emotional return. I was happy to see the fans really got behind her. And it's great. I mean, I don't know how. I'm assuming she's healthy enough to be in the ring, because she is.
Right.
I don't know to what extent, how much longevity you're going to get with her run here, but I think it's smart to have her come in and win the tag titles, kind of ease her way back into the ring with WWE.
Sure.
And then as time goes on, she gets a little bit more her footing back with it, get back into the singles competition, because everybody wants to see Paige. You know, we want to relive that run where she's a singles champion and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, first off, exactly what you said about not, letting wrestling and the dirt sheets reporters, what they think they are reporters, spoil the show for you, because this surprise was awesome. This is the perfect time for Paige to be back, right? Because there's a good mix of people who she used to work with, combined with people she has not worked with. Bring back the AJ Lee rivalry, the Bellas, but also everyone else in the women's division that she's never been in the ring with. Don't treat this like the AJ Lee run, because AJ Lee's been back for like 8 months and has had one feud, and that's Becky Lynch. Please get in with other people, mix it up, spend the rest of 2026 getting her in the ring, because Paige is still very young despite her injury history, and can still go, and also very exciting in the ring, on the mic. Love to see her back. So we've talked about some NXT call-ups that have happened and are about to happen coming up this week. Ethan Page, Sol Ruca, Blake Monroe, Ricky Saints, Fatal Influence, the entire women's faction on SmackDown, Joe Hendry on Raw tonight. Which of those are you most excited for on the main roster?
Oh man, I want to say Ricky Saints, just because the guy has great mic skills. He's great in ring. I really want to see him mix it up with guys like Cody, like Punk, whoever can get in there with.
Yeah,
I'm excited the most about his. Of course, I think everybody else, it's time to shine. Sol Ruca especially.
Yeah, no, Sol Ruca's huge. Blake Monroe is where I'm going to go. I'm with you on Ricky Saints, but for the sake of throwing another name out there, Blake Monroe is someone that could be in a WrestleMania women's title match next year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And with Ricky Saints in the men's division, but Blake Monroe is that good. We've seen her in AEW at a top headline story with Toni Storm. We know she can do it. I love that they gave her a run in NXT before just throwing her into the women's division. Yeah. Again, the women's division is stacked right now, so there's also a lot of fun, creative matches. I'm going to say something. Let's not act like Joe Hendry's a bigger star than he actually is. Joe Hendry is R-Truth. Joe Hendry is Danhausen. That's the realm he lives in if you want him to be successful. Yeah. It's not a world champion. It's not a big WrestleMania match. That's where he needs to live now that he's going to be on the main roster consistently. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah. I mean,
shout out to Danhausen.
Shout out to Dan. Getting a WrestleMania moment. Shout out to WWE for marketing him like no other. He is a star. After that rough debut that he had at Elimination Chamber, they have turned it around beautifully for him.
Dude, everything right now with him is hitting on all cylinders.
Yes.
It is, and it's naturally funny, and the crowd is like 100% behind him.
All right, lastly, the opposite side of things before we go, and that is more releases in WWE. This list headlined by the likes of Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, the entire Wyatt Six, Kairi Sane, Alba Fire. Which name stood out the most for you this time around?
Honestly, if I had to pick a name, I would just probably say Aleister Black and Zelina,
Yeah.
just because I thought they were actually going to carry a storyline with them. But that's really it, because everybody else. Well, actually, you know what? The Motor City Machine Guns.
There's another one.
That threw me for a loop. I thought, like, hey, you know what? If you want to restructure the tag team division, if you want to streamline it and get focused, these guys are the veterans. They've been doing this for a long time. They can hold the titles. They can be the ones that the up and coming teams have to beat. They let them go. All right, but other than that, everybody else on the list, especially the Wyatt Six, I kind of get it.
Yeah, the WWE needs to stay away from the Wyatt story altogether.
Yeah,
I mentioned
I
this
think
on a clip.
they've tried to do whatever they can with whatever Bray Wyatt was trying to do with what he was doing, and it never transferred over well enough. And I think it's time to stop going to that well.
They just don't get it, which is fine. Just stop forcing the issue. The fact that the Wyatt Six never crossed paths with Alexa Bliss is insane to me.
Yeah,
the debut was as big of a deal as it was, and then they never were a big deal after that. That's insane to me. But this is all things that we said about Bray Wyatt way back when, all the iterations of Bray Wyatt. There's something in creative that's not clicking, that is, and that's fine. But just stop pushing it, because you're teasing the fans that are very much into this, that we're going to do something with this, and then you never do. And that's what happened with Bray Wyatt. That's what happened with The Fiend. And that's what happened with the Wyatt Six this time around. The biggest, there's not a specific name. There's a lot of names that surprise me. It's the amount of names on here that were currently in a story that they've just kind of moved up. Kairi Sane with Asuka. Motor City Machine Guns with Johnny Gargano, because Ciampa just went to AEW. Aleister Black and Zelina Vega with Cardona and Orton, and like they never followed through on that. So that's the difference this time around for me. The releases always happen. It's easy to get emotional about it. I was just surprised that, wow, this guy was in a story, she was in a story, he was in a story, and we just never finished that story, and we're just going to cut it. It's crazy to me. That time around, it's crazy to me. I might want to get too emotional about releases. It's the tough part of the industry. It always happens. There's always names that you're surprised by. I was just surprised by all the unfinished stories.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, but here's the thing, too. You got to think, a lot of times there's releases and people, you never know who's going to make the rounds and come back and be a star that WWE is like, hey, we really would like you to come back because you're getting a lot of buzz doing what you're doing. Obviously, Exhibit 1A is Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Matt Cardona, Drew McIntyre.
Even.
Right. And even if you go look at the R-Truth situation, they went to release them and then they turned it around. I mean, there's a lot. Again, wrestling is a weird industry, which is why I don't get overly emotional, not to sound cold about it and act like I don't care, but they could be bad. Aleister Black just came back a year ago, right? And now he's gone. He could be right back in the Royal Rumble. He's back, right?
Yeah, you never know.
But Karrion Kross is one that went away that we expected to see back pretty soon, and all of a sudden he's not still. So it's a weird industry. It's the tough part of the industry, but it's a weird industry. We mentioned it a couple weeks away from Backlash, just like that. So we'll be back in May, right after Backlash, talking about that. Roar Around the Ring all over on social media, at JV Around the Ring on YouTube. Subscribe at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, Darrell Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. We'll talk to you guys very soon.